Hey, drama. So when you're writing a poem, for this Firewrite, we are writing a poem from our heart, from our, oops, I can't spell, from our heart. And this is something that we could present during our heart map presentation or during any showcase. We're writing a poem from our heart. I always say that we need to focus on something called imagery. We need to show, not tell. So you need to think about, when you think about this thing, what are you seeing? So draw a little eye. Okay, what are the five senses, guys? What are you hearing? So this is how you would draw a little ear, curvy. Okay, so seeing, what are you hearing? What are you smelling? Okay, so nose, we're not gonna worry too much about what a nose looks like, but you can do an upside down question mark.
I can draw a nose very well.
Oh, very good, Sophie. What do you smell? What do you taste? And what do you feel? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you have different areas, and I want you to pick a person or a place or a thing from your heart in your visual journal. Go ahead, and obviously this is a Firewrite, and I think it's Firewrite 9, but I'm starting to lose track, so just go ahead, write Firewrite Academic Prep Week 4, and this is a poem from our heart, right? So think about your heart map, and this is where some of the best drama can come from. And then you may want to write the date. I'm going to write my date right here. September 7th, 2020. All right, in addition to your five senses, I want you to think, to get a little bit more creative about questions. Actually, you know what? Sorry. Big eraser. I want you to think deeply about your subject. So I want you to think about the problem, if there's any sort of problem related to this thing. Sorry, this is supposed to be an explosion. But I want you to think about the problem in drama is the conflict. And conflict is the essence of drama, and it makes for a good poem. So I want you to think about conflict, and then I also want you to think about questions. Questions that you're wondering about your subject. So we're going to do a question mark. Okay, and you can decorate this with your watercolor any way that you want, or you can decorate it with your color pencils. You know, any sort of colors that kind of resonate and stand out to you because you want to, you know, be proud of your work, and you really want to think as you're writing your poem. Do I have? What kind of colors do I want to use? So go ahead and add things and decorate it in any way that you want, so it makes sense. You know, and you may be thinking, do I have to do this? You don't have to, but, you know, you want to take pride in your work. Don't spend forever on it, though. Like, look, I could be worried about this, but I'm not going to be. Got to keep moving on. Right, Sophie? We got to keep moving on with our work.
Never give up.
Never give up. Good job, Sophie. Say hi to my students.
Hi.
Sophie, do you like coloring your work and making it look nice? Why do you like coloring your work and making it look nice? Nah, you don't know. Questions that you have about the subject and any sort of conflict. Now, conflict is kind of like a problem. Jacob, say hi to my students.
Hi.
He's saying hi. Okay, you got to put on paint clothes if you're going to paint, Jacob. Go put on, go talk to Daddy about paint clothes. Okay, so get all set up to write your poem. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick one thing from our heart. You can go back to your ABC chart and go back to your heart map and pick one thing from your heart that you're going to write a poem about. Okay, and then go ahead and label it.
What are you going to paint, Jacob?
Okay, guys, so I decided that the subject of my poem for my Firewrite is going to be my drama teacher. We went ahead and we had a birthday party for her this weekend, and I saw her and she's kind of fresh in my memory and she's in my heart. So first I'm going to describe everything that I saw. She smiled. So what you guys should be doing is writing with me. With me. So much light in her eyes. And then you can jump around. Sighs of joy as she heard our melody. Songs from the past. Children will listen. So when you're thinking about what you hear, guys, can you be quiet? When you're thinking about what you hear, you can also think about things that the person has said, like dialogue, right? So this is a song that she introduced all of us to. And the quote is, "Children will listen," right? And I'm going to put a star there. Maybe I'll repeat it in the poem. But what you're trying to get to is the truth of this and why is this person in your heart. I'm going to hop around and I'm going to think about conflict, right? I mean, the conflict is really that those days we were with her are, are now long gone, but she gave us so much. And I think the problem, when I think about like this one person in my heart, is the biggest problem that comes to mind when I'm kind of thinking about this one person that brings me a lot of joy, is this question of why aren't more people like her? And you can ask a bunch of like why and how questions. Again, when you're asking questions, you want to ask questions that start with why and how, right? So why aren't more people like her? Why aren't people, and this exercise works for places or memories or things or stories, anything in your heart really. Any things that's happened to you, why aren't people generous? Why don't people listen? And I'm thinking, like, what am I going to do for touch and taste, right? So I have a lot of memories with this person, and I can reach back to other points, like
Which person?
Mrs. Smella, like sweet pears, because we would go and eat. We would eat food. She taught me how to make real Italian spaghetti. And what happens is when you start thinking about things like taste, you know, if you start thinking about things like taste, you're kind of brought back to this like even truer place, these memories. Like, and I'm starting to realize sweet pears taught me how to. She took me in and treated me like a daughter. So what happens is we start to have ideas, right? We start to have these ideas when we are accessing like the different senses, you know, and you can write, I think about so many kids needing her love and hospitality, her hugs. I'm not really getting to the conflict here. I think, so maybe I can return back to it. I am in the sense like that there's not enough of her. So you can read over what you wrote and be like, okay, what really is in the problem? Like, what really is the problem? There needs to be more. We need to be like Mrs. Smella. You know, so the conflict is what's going to make your poem kind of like interesting to the audience, is the conflict. So you're asking these questions. Why aren't they more like her? Why can't people listen? And then keep hopping around, right? That way you don't get stuck. I heard her stand up to bullies. She was short, but she would look up at the tall Brother Rice boys. Strength. Voice. Always firm and certain. Right, so I'm on to a good start. I've been writing for about 10-11 minutes. This is kind of a longer Firewrite, you know, and I'm having a hard time thinking about smelling, but I'm just thinking about it, and I'm remembering the candle wax smell, sweet candles dripping on the corner of her pool in 2001. Tears. Jim died. I'm thinking about the death of her husband in 2001. We were her angels, she said. And, you know, the smell Like I remember smelling that candle wax, and that may bring back an auditory, like something that I heard, like a quote, and that's okay if there are different things in each one. The whole point is that you're just brainstorming about the different sentences. And then, you know, if you ever are stuck with sight, colors are really great. So she wore a lot of white. Make a list of colors associated with this person or place. Aqua chairs. Let's see. Purple, summer, flowers. Right? And you can have like, and then maybe when you think about colors, you may see something else like her eyes were always wet and tired because she lived so long. I'm gonna keep brainstorming. I have nothing for touch, but I have something for conflict. And why aren't there more people like her? I blame our president for being the opposite of her. She would stand up to him. And that makes me think of a question. Why are we so afraid of speaking our truth and standing up to the dictators, those that squash the joy? And then as you're getting closer to the end, you want to think about something called kind of like your thesis, right? So what is the main idea? Like what is the main point that you're trying to get across? So we call this a theme or a lesson, right? Or the message. But is there something that you want to get your audience, the people in the audience, to think about, right? So here's the little brain. We want our audience to think. So like as you're writing and you're meditating on the different senses, this is my little eyeball or my little light bulb. What do you guys think of it? Anyone? Anyone out there? Here, I'll do a little pink brain. So what is the whole point? Like, what are you trying to say with your poem? And essays, all works of art kind of have a thesis, right? So why are we so afraid of speaking the truth and saying the dictators, those that squash the joy? So what do I want the audience to walk away with thinking? All of us need to improve the lives of everyone we meet for the better. Right? So all of us need to improve the lives of everyone we meet for the better. Right? So we need, essentially, Jacob, I'm teaching, we need more Lou's. Right? So that's kind of where I am with my thesis and what I'm trying to put with that point.
Drama or art?
I'm teaching drama right now because I'm hoping they're going to write these poems. Now I'm realizing I haven't used this sense, the sense of touch. So I remember her hands would feel cold hands, but strong. because she raised 4 children. Hey, respect personal space.
Jacob just peed on my room.
Okay, that's hers, Jacob. You stay on yours. Stay in your space, Jacob. Jacob. Right, so cold hands, but strong because she raised her children. And like the idea of feeling really goes like wide, right? So like you could put yourself in the shoes or imagine yourself in that place. Really imagine what it's like to be like that person. Dry, tired hands, strong with age, body, and pink toes, perfectly manicured. Sophie, just finish. That have completely walked 1,000. Okay, and to let the poem take shape, start to just highlight the important words, like smiled bright, right? And maybe I don't want to include that part, right? What comes forward? Light, eyes, short, look up, strength, tall, sighs of joy, our melody, songs from the past, children will listen, repeat, firm voice, certain, stand up. So what you want to do is you want to highlight the details that stick out, that you can see. Aqua chairs, purple flowers, summer, tired eyes, but bright. And you start to see the poem come forward. She lived so long, well, I don't need to say that because I'm showing it. Candle wax smells sweet, dripping, her pool tears. We were her angels. I don't need to say she said, right? So I'm just including the best stuff. She took me in, treated me like a daughter. Sweet pears, real Italian spaghetti. And I'm thinking, like, as I'm highlighting, I could talk about even more. Spicy, history, sweet, and then I can go like from thing to thing, family, togetherness, everything. And that makes me think I should add on to my thesis. We need to all be like her for the better. We need to love and lean on each other, right? So I'm kind of making notes as I go over and I highlight what's important. So spicy history, cold hands, tired, strong. She raised her children, pink toes, perfectly manicured, walked 1,000 miles. Long gone, she has given so much. We need her love, her hugs. Needs to be more, need to be like her. And then the conflict, right? Identifying that conflict, where my crescendo will be. I blame our president for being the opposite of her. Why aren't there more people like her? Why can't our government be like her? Right? So you can change different colors. What can we do? Why aren't so many people generous? Why? And I can repeat these questions of the, Why? People need to listen. People need to be generous. Why? And I'm just thinking we need to stand up to the dictators, those and that squash the joy. She is joy, right? She is joy. So I'm kind of thinking on the page, we need to improve the lives of everyone for the better. We need to love each other. And that's my message. That's my final thought, to be more like her. So I asked my whys. I used all of my senses, sight, what I hear, what I smell, what I taste, what I feel. I identified a conflict, and I asked questions that led to a thesis, a main idea. So that's kind of what you're doing. Once you do all of this work, and you can do it as many times as you want, you should be ready, to be honest, you should be ready to have a rough poem, right? So you could go through, and then from your journal, you can type from this. Okay, so let's see how we do. So after I've gone ahead and I've done my notes about my eyes, ears, imagery from the nose, the mouth, hands, the conflict, the rhetorical questions, and my main thesis, my idea that I'm trying to prove, I can go ahead and I can look at what I highlighted, and I can just kind of start to write and play around in Google Documents. So, smile so bright, light in her eyes, sparkles. These kids are filled. These kids are covered in sparkles, she said. And I don't need to have the she said, because I could take out what's not important. Looking up, so fierce, fire and strength in her eyes. And I'm just going through and I'm just writing down everything that I'm seeing. Sighs of joy. Joy during our melody. As we sang. And I'm going to just skip around and I'm going to put things where I think they go. Children will listen. Sun through tears. The smell of sweet wax in 2001. She let us be her angels. And then I'm seeing like the hand imagery. Maybe I can put that in the beginning. Though cold hands, tired but strong. Perfect pink toes, having walked 10,000 miles. 4 children she raised before us. Correct my spelling as I go. So I'm going through and I'm just looking at my journal, picking out the good imagery. And then I got my conflict, right? So I think I've had included everything. I don't think I included my taste. So sparkles, these covered as sparkles, looking so fierce. She was sweet pears. I tasted spicy, tangy, real Italian tomato sauce in a deep silver pot. Pink toes. Days with her continue. I learned yesterday. And then here I got my problem, my conflicts, and my questions. Why aren't there more people like her? Why are we so afraid? Dictators silent us. We need to improve everyone's lives for the better. Our joint song will give us that. Mrs. Smella smile. That light will lead us to love each other. Children do listen. Okay, there we go. So there's like a rough draft of my poem. I didn't include everything. But you know, it's a start. Okay, so cold hands, tired but strong, 4 children she raised before us, sweet pears I tasted, spicy, tangy, real Italian tomato sauce in a deep silver pot. She treated me like a daughter. How did she have the time for me? The world needs more of her. The world needs, I don't want to say more of her, so I'm going to look for more imagery. The world needs, I'm looking for more. Another image. Needs more firm and certain voices. Stand up to bullies. Smile bright. Smile so bright. That's a little redundant. So I'm going to take out the smile and bright. So you're just kind of thinking. And, you know, you can keep workshopping it and try saying it out loud. Your next step is to annotate it with vocal choices. But it's filled with imagery and it has a conflict. And I'm thinking, this is my thesis right here. We need to improve everyone's lives for the better, right? And then I would get bigger and bigger with my voice right here. And I would start talking faster here as I led to my crescendo. It's not letting me mark it, but right there. Okay, thanks guys. Good luck writing your poems.